Okay, today I'm back in the Star Sports Mayfair shop with Jordan Hopkins. Jordan, thank you very much
Thanks
for
very much for having me
making
on.
the journey down from Newmarket to see us here. Right, basically what alerted you to me initially was people telling me that you're a very good judge, particularly on French racing.
Yeah, well, thanks to the people that have mentioned it here. So yeah, I've over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, probably about coming up 3 years now, I decided to sort of use Twitter as a vehicle to get some more exposure, really, and start posting bets onto Twitter, really. Obviously, it's not an original thing. It was something that's a lot of people have had quite a lot of success from in the industry. So yeah, I've been doing that for sort of 3 years or so now, all for free, and yeah, it's just a way of just getting my name out there, really, because I'm not necessarily, obviously I've grown up sort of 10 miles from Newmarket, and my granddad's been taking me racing since I can remember, but I'm not necessarily from a racing background, and it's a very sort of closed shop, so I sort of knew from quite a time ago that I wanted to get into racing at some point, and just had the foresight to think, let's sort of try and get a head start while I'm at uni and just do this alongside and see where it goes.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
23.
You're 23.
Think about that then.
Yeah, so you've been putting them on there for about 3 years.
Yeah.
So how long have you been taking a serious interest in the form book?
Yeah, I think it's a serious interest, obviously. Since I've been going racing since I was, 5 or 6 really, but a serious interest, I'd say, from 16 onwards, perhaps. I mean, the betting side of things, obviously, it goes without saying I do have a bet, but racing's always been my passion, really. Like, I just sort of live and breathe it. And the betting side of things is just basically what I'm trying to say, long story cut short, is without betting I'd still be watching racing as much as I do.
Well, so because you're 23,
yeah,
a lot of people have studied form seriously all their lives, and they still can't make it pay. Now, it's from a serious interest at 16, studying it seriously for 3 years, and then having the confidence to put your bets up online. I mean, you know what a ferocious place Twitter can be if you start putting up a load of losers. So, I mean, how have you got so good? I mean, what is it that you've got that nobody else has got? Or very few other people have got?
Yeah. I think really, firstly, going back to what you said just before that with Twitter and having I think when you're tipping, for me straight away, it was a sort of thing where I didn't want to do it unless there was any sort of accountability. Do it seriously anyway, because to begin with, it was just sort of a like quite a lot of people would do, is just sometimes you just see people that not actually tipping regularly, but they'll say, oh, I fancy this today, and they'll put a few things about it. And I used to do that, and not record. I didn't have like a profit and loss or anything. It was just I'll just say I'd like this today or whatever. And with that, I mean, now it's a little bit different, but when you're first doing that, you got to sort of not really worry about what sort of flack you're going to get for it if it loses, because at the end of the day, it's not my. I can't take your hand and put the bet on for you.
But you're being modest, aren't you? Because people tell me that your bets move the market now. So that is a lot. That means a lot of people must be following them. So what I mean, how did you get to that point where you can pick so many winners? And we'll get to the reason why it's French racing in a minute. But I mean, is there anything, or is it just something that comes natural to you?
I guess I've got a very, very good discipline with it, really. So I can happily go through a cards, or several cards in a day, find 10 horses I think will go close, and if I don't get the prices that I want, I won't have a bet. So it's all about, which isn't an alien concept, isn't original thinking. It's just having that mindset where I have to be beating the starting price long term to make a profit long term. And if I'm not making a profit long term, there's no real point betting anyway.
No.
So with the moving market, sorry, I was going off on a tangent.
Yeah, no.
But so it's become more of an issue. Obviously, it's a sort of a simple thing really with the French markets. They're soft really. For whatever reason, there isn't a real interest in French. I think there's a real lack of interest in French racing in Britain. And to be honest, at all really. The reason, probably the main reason why the liquidity is so low, and the markets are soft, is because in France, they just have the Paris Mutuelle, so they just have their tote system, and generally that is where it would be a huge majority of the betting in France that goes on, and obviously that's an independent market to our the Betfair exchange, and it's completely independent to bookmakers here. So to begin with, obviously, if I'm putting something up with 2,000 or 3,000 followers, it might get clipped. So it's obviously all to do with the volume of bets that are going on in a short space of time, and into a soft market.
Yeah, but your bets are winning. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, how is it that you've found an edge to it that nobody else? Because a lot of people try and find winners, and a lot of people try and price races up, and a lot of people think, oh, this is value, but most people still lose. And you're 23, and no offence to being 23, but you know it's quite inexperienced to be so good as you are.
I appreciate. Yeah.
Nobody tells me their secrets, Jordan, so don't worry about
yeah, right.
this.
With regard to that, really, I wouldn't really say I can pin something down. It's just more an intuitive thing for me now, really, in the most modest way possible. I don't know. I can just watch a race, and watching it one time live, I'll have already formed quite a solid opinion on it. And I'm quite a strong believer as well in that first opinion is probably, you should stick by it. And I sort of just, I stick by whatever my opinion is on a race, and that's the main thing really.
So why French racing? There's lots of racing in the Newmarket.
Yeah, well, it's probably I'm a bit before my time really, because I suppose most 17, 18-year-olds, I should say 18-year-olds really, are looking at they're not thinking, oh, let's find an edge. And I'd be lying if I said that when I first started betting, I was immediately thinking, oh, I've got to have an edge. Obviously, I was having, especially at uni, with a house full of boys, obviously I was having bets that everyone, weekend football hackers and whatnot, which I don't have now because I've learnt better of it. But having that edge with French racing, nobody watches it, nobody really bets on it. The trading for it, then, because it's not such a highly scrutinised market, generally I just thought, from an early point, this is probably going to be something where there's going to be more errors.
Oh, and the people that price it up make the ricks. You spot them.
Yeah, or not necessarily huge ricks, but why would a bookmaker waste so much time on a market that's got £20 matched at 3 hours before the off? So having that is the main reason really. I do like French racing in the way it works over there, but from a betting point of view, it's more or less just because I just find it easy to beat the starting price.
Okay, so you say you watch a race and you can make your mind up about what you see. So are you watching every race, or are you still delving into the French form book? I mean, are the resources there? Like over here, you've got Proform. Have you got that sort of tools, or do you not need them at the moment?
So I'll be honest, I don't use anything other than, well, I say that my main thing is just race replays and forming my opinion on, form and just looking at a horse physically.
Yeah.
And forming an opinion around that. Obviously, there's France Gallo is the main, like at the races equivalent or Racing Post equivalent over there, and that's a very good site. for French racing, and the only real go-to really, because they have all of the replays at every track across the country, whereas Racing Post and Out the Race will tend to miss meetings that aren't televised. It's to do with the PMU basically. All the meetings that the PMU cover, the form will be on the Racing Post and Out the Races, but the ones that don't, they'll miss. So if you don't have that French racing website, you're going to miss potentially half of a horse's form.
So do you cover it all then? You don't specialise?
Sorry.
Do you cover it all, the French racing? Would you take it all into account, or do you specialise on certain types?
So I'm predominantly a flat racing fan and obsessive really. Like I don't jumps I watch and somewhat enjoy, but I'm definitely more flat, and obviously that probably or definitely correlates to the fact I'm near Newmarket. But with covering all of the French racing, I will tend to focus on maidens, black type races and conditions races there. That I like the way, from at least irrespective of anything else, from a betting point of view, betting on French racing, the way their race program works is slightly different to ours, where there's a big emphasis on conditions races, whereas your conditions races here, most of them generally tend to be like the one at Newmarket on the weekend, where you have a 3-runner field with a horse that's miles ahead of the other two that are there to pick up, the prize money basically. Conditions races there, it's usually just the next step after a horse has broke its maiden, as opposed to here where you'll have a horse that breaks its maiden and then goes into novice company under a penalty. Generally there that they go to this conditions grade, which I find generally it's quite easy sometimes for me to find a horse that has been well placed in a conditions race after breaking its maiden and is potentially just a stone ahead of the field. And you're then betting group horses against inferior company basically, and there's a lot due to that race program set up with conditions races. You have so many more opportunities where that becomes possible, and that's obviously the dream really. A group horse, odds against a load of handicappers
and a talent to spot. So do you bet? I assume you don't. But you bet into the French tote markets at all?
It's quite difficult to do it now, or at least in my experience, because from what I gather, I never used it, but RaceBets is a German bookmaker, and since Brexit, it's geo-blocked, so you can't actually get on through them now. But they had you could access the PMU French tote through that. You can bet through the French tote market through Bet365 and their win pools option, but I mean, keeping a 365 account is just about as hard as getting a bet on the PMU really. And I wouldn't be well versed enough to know which shops across the country will lay at PMU, but I'm assuming there still is. You're able to do it in shop.
But do you think they would be beatable? How often do you see a horse that wins which is bigger than the price that you would have made it?
In France, the thing is, it's difficult for me really because that's a stupid thing to say really, but because obviously my main thing is I want a price that's generally 100% bigger than what I make it. When you're betting into a tote market, you can't guarantee what you're going to get paid out. Yeah. So when you say beatable, obviously as the liquidity fills before the off, you're going to have a better understanding of what price you're going to nearly get, and especially at bigger meetings. If say you want a horse at 7-1 and it's 9-1 2 minutes before the off on art weekend, generally it's probably not going to go off shorter than 7-1. So,
yeah.